Welcome to Real Men Eat Plants, the podcast that challenges the stereotype that a plant-based diet is only for Eve's offspring and green smoothie anarchists. We're here to show you that real men can thrive on a plant-based diet, and that it's not only good for your health, but also for the planet, animals, and most importantly, your libido. Okay, maybe your libido shouldn't be more important than the planet, but we're just being realistic here. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of plant-based living, sharing inspiring stories, exciting plant-based news, and highlighting the achievements of individuals who have embraced this empowering way of life. So grab that green smoothie and settle into your favorite spot, and let's embark on an exciting journey together. Real Men Eat Plants is your hub for inspiration, information, and connection within the vibrant world of plant-based living.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Real Men Eat Plants podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Dennstedt. Joining me today is a bunch of great real men who eat plants. Thank you all for being here. Let's just go around the horn, say hello, and give everybody a quick intro on who you are and how we're hanging out today. So who wants to kick us off?
I'll start. My name is Paul Chatlin. I'm the founder of the Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group, the largest support group in the world. And I'm also the co-founder of the Sage Circle Alliance, coming to you within the next 30 to 60 days. We're going to create an alliance of all connections worldwide for people who want to share resources and assist in growing this movement. Thank you.
Awesome, Paul. Thanks for being here. We're excited to hang out with you today. Maybe I'll toss it over to Brian for his intro.
I'm Brian Herskowitz. I'm primarily a screenwriter, director, filmmaker, but I teach at Boston University in Los Angeles. They have an LA campus, and I also teach martial arts. So I'm kind
awesome.
I'm a Renaissance guy.
I love it. I love it. And you've got quite the story, Brian. Thanks for being here. And last but not least is Mike Young, hanging out from the forest. Where are you today, Mike? Introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Mike Young. I am the founder of plantbaseddiet.org. Yeah, I'm in the forest. I'm a real man in the woods. The Ocala National Forest, which is where our headquarters are. We are a nonprofit that specializes these days in health span and longevity, and of course, people, animals, and our planet, all that kind of stuff wrapped together.
Love it. Thank you so much, Mike, for being with us and hanging out from the forest. Today's topic is to me a really fun one because it really defines why I started this whole thing, 13 years ago. What is a real man on that front? I know my mind was completely blown 13, 14 years ago when I started this transition to a plant-based life. And I've just been hit with challenge after challenge as a real man who eats plants on that front. So I wanted to unpack masculinity and what is a real man a little bit today on our topic. So we've got a couple segments we'll walk through. And I'm excited to get all your input and just sort of help shape the vision for what is the real man in our opinions, and help put that out there in the world, and challenge people to comment on this video and tell us what their thoughts are, and be glad to do some follow-up episodes on this, because I don't think we'll be able to unpack this topic in the 45 minutes that we have or so. So thank you all again for being here. I'd love to start with that question of what is masculinity? And so if I just pull up the Wikipedia page real quick, I'll read this off, kind of a thing. But masculinity, according to Wikipedia, manhood or manliness is a set of attributes, behaviors, and roles associated with men and boys. And it's basically a social construct that we've created on that front. So, and any kids and women and any gender out there can show masculine qualities and things like that. But I'd love to see each of you help me unpack what your definition is of masculinity. So from the forest, Mike, hit us with your thoughts first.
Well, back to nature. I think getting out in nature, doing things with your hands, accomplishing things, the physical things, I'd say is kind of it's it's what humans, or at least guys, men, really, I think, have an innate desire to do. I mean, I love the forest. That's why I'm out here. But everything that we do, I think, even in the plant-based movement, is about more natural things and getting back to nature. So
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Brian?
Yeah. So, I certainly agree with most of what Mike said. And, one of the things is you mentioned it's a construct. And, my feeling is that every man is a real man. And the idea of what is masculinity, that's from the eye of the beholder. But for me, it has to do with the things that you were mentioning, physicality. Are you someone who's, not afraid of working with their hands, not afraid of getting into not necessarily risk taking, but the idea that you're a physical human being in a physical world. And to me, that's masculine. So, I'm the kind of person that you see on the street and you don't automatically go, now that's a man. That right there, that's man. But I'm a 5th degree black belt in judo. I'm a world champion in both judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I consider myself masculine enough.
That's right.
I
That's right.
don't have any issues with that. And for me, the things that attracted me to veganism, I was never a big red meat eater, but I had a physical scare a few years ago in terms of like a heart thing with calcium, and I went, what the heck is that about? And I saw this documentary called Game Changers. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. And I went, now these guys, this was a mixed martial artist, right? Who went, wait a minute, the gladiators, probably the most masculine figures in our history were primarily plant-based eaters. What's that about? So he went to research that, and I found it fascinating. My brother, who is probably, if I'm on a 6 on the scale of masculinity, he's a 9. He was also a martial artist growing up, and we were together and watching. I made him watch it, and he went, I can do this. I can become vegan. He became vegan on the spot, and he was everything but a vegan at that point. So, for me, veganism and masculinity are not mutually exclusive. Or you don't have to be. You can be masculine and eat plants. You can be masculine and eat meat. That is not a concern, in my opinion.
Right.
That's just my thoughts on it.
No, I appreciate that. Paul, share some of your wisdom with us.
15 years ago, I was a power lifter, amongst many other things. And I weighed about 75 pounds more. And there was no question I was a man. I was lifting many, many men and lifting more than most men. And then heart disease came at my doorstep. I lost 75 pounds. And I must share with you that the way I look at manliness changed greatly. Now, my idea of manliness is living as an example to everyone that touches my life. So to me, I've got 3 sons. I've got some friends and family. They see at my age the health and how my recovery is wonderful. And again, just being that example and showing some compassion. I maybe wasn't always as compassionate many years ago. Now I've got a lot more compassion for many different types of people and people in general. So, I think it changes. But what's most important to me is truly, as a man, how you feel about yourself. So there's no question in my mind of what I do, who I am, where I'm going. So I think that strength is what my depiction of a man should be.
Yeah, I love it. I guess my vision in my head is I guess I just go back to like some stuff my history teacher told me way back in high school was really like to think for yourself. Don't follow the rest of the sheep on this planet. Do the research, do the homework, like watch the documentaries, read the books, look at the science, all that kind of stuff, and then figure out what your world values are, what your world beliefs are, and all that stuff, and then stand by them. And I think if you want to eat the meat, that's fine. But as long as you've done the homework and the research and you feel like your world values back up to that belief in some fashion. So, and then you have to showcase that out to the world. Like I think we've probably all been challenged as plant-based vegan men in some fashion or another, that we aren't as much of a man because we don't eat the meat that's tied to this masculine culture, especially in America. So like I just find like we have to figure out what those beliefs are, and we have to demonstrate them to the world. Like I it's interesting. So I'm going to jump around in my segments a little bit here, but I wanted to sort of put out the fact, like, I think real men should help around the house with the laundry or the dishes or the kids or whatever else like that. And I think that's something that has shifted over the past 100 years with men and our roles as fathers and parents for sure. And I put out this video on YouTube. It's just a short video of just saying real men pick up after their kids, real men help with the dishes, real men let their daughters paint their fingernails, because my fingernails were painted at the time. And that video went semi-viral, I think 7,000-8,000 views, but 500-600 comments, because at the end of the video, I said, real men eat plants, which put out that little bit of controversy out there. Like, you had me up until that video until that last segment came in, right? So I'm just curious, like, how do you guys address some of the stigmas and stereotypes that are out there as part of our diet?
Let me, if I could start on this one, because it was interesting as you're unwinding this thing. I was thinking first, when you make the comment of like, you help your wife, you help your kids, a real man helps everyone because his goal is to take care of the herd. My job is to protect those family and friends that are close to me, without question. And it's funny because, one of the things I used to grow up thinking all the time was, if you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes. So I'm saying, I think a real man, is willing to, against odds, against opinion, do what's right. That's first and foremost, but lead by example.
I love it. Thank you,
Yep.
Paul. Mike or Brian?
Yeah, well, you were talking about the diet here specifically. Yeah, I mean, I hear comments quite often from, I'd say, more, let's say, I don't know, traditional American men, okay, saying that I eat rabbit food. Okay, I don't hear that. But the reality is, I don't have any non-communicable disease. And kind of like Paul was saying, we need to lead by example. The right thing to do is to enjoy your life, have fun, go out and do whatever you want. And if you're ill, you can't do that. So the right way to lead, the right way to be a real man and to be able to do all the things that you want to do, including taking care of everyone, like was mentioned, other things, is to stay in your best health.
I love it. Well said.
Kind of along those same lines, the two things, that, and it puzzles me that there are people that I've been at tables and, people have been eating steak or whatever, and have some, have a bite. I know you're a vegan, but go ahead. It's like, the idea that, somehow you are lesser because makes no sense to me. And the thing that you were talking about, Paul, that, part of it is taking care of the herd. And Mike, the idea that, you taking care of your health helps you take care of the herd. One of the things that is puzzling to me and is that, we have a very limited amount of time on this planet, and not just us, but the planet itself. And one of the things that, the question, you get this pushback from people, and I'm not going to get political, but there are people that go, hey, there is no such thing as global warming, and it's fake science. Meat's better for you, and it's better for your health, and better people get they're more muscular because they eat meat, and all of those things that aren't necessarily true. But you sit there and you kind of push against that, and I want to say to people, okay, let's say you and I have these two different perspectives, and let's not look at the science. Let's just say one is true and one is not true. But let's pretend that yours is not true. What harm is there in taking the path that may potentially improve the planet and improve your own health, and stop the suffering of animals, and clean up the water, and help with the pollution and all the other things that are the positives that go with it? I don't understand the resistance and this idea that people get this kind of pleasure out of seeing a vegan eat meat. You know, the idea that, you know, if you have some cheese, cheese won't kill you. Have it. You know, it's like I love cheese. I'm not against cheese, but I also want to do what's right for the family, for the planet, and for myself. And
Yep.
the idea that, you know, well, I like meat and I like to have my hamburger and I like that. That's all copacetic. But the truth is, in my opinion, just my opinion, there's absolutely nothing out there right now that you can't replicate with plants.
I agree.
Can I give a plug to a grocery store here?
Please,
called
please.
Besties? Okay, so there's a place, it's called Bestie's Vegan Paradise in Los Angeles, and it's a grocery store. It is. I'm not associated with them anyway, except I shop there. They have no products that are made by any company that also make non-plant products. So when you walk in the door, everything there is supporting plant-based products. They have a mozzarella cheese that I do a homemade pizza from that is as good as any mozzarella I've ever had. It's called Cheese and Thank You. And so I'm giving that a plug. My daughter has been an ethical vegan since she was 2.5. She's now she's an adult now. I won't give her age away, but she's an adult now. And she just recently got her degree in animal ethics and law.
That's awesome.
And so she's very attuned to what animals' needs are and what happens in the planet and everything else. And at 2.5, she was eating a turkey dog and said, "What is this? This is really good." And I said, it's turkey. And she said, "Turkey like the animal turkey?" And I said, "Yeah, never again."
Yeah.
Hasn't touched it. And she's the one who has been pushing me for years to go vegan. I went, and then
Game changers did it.
I had to help me. I went, whoa.
Yeah.
So, but getting back to this idea that there's no longer a reason to rip a calf away from its mother and keep that cow pregnant and trapped and destroying her life and their environment and everything else and making that suffer. And if you said to someone, if you could do the same thing without having an animal suffer, would you? And unfortunately, I think there's a big portion of our society that goes, "I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. It's not going to affect my life."
Yeah.
It's going to affect their lives. It's going to affect all our lives if we don't start kind of turning it around. That's just, I'll stop preaching it. But that's my thought on it.
No, I mean, I think you're spot on. I mean, I think most people just haven't taken the time to slow down and really look at the amount of fiber they're getting in their diet, the amount of exercise, and what they're putting in their bodies. And to Mike's point, like, that's what keeps you alive and healthy and all that stuff. I just had Kobe from Cheese Peas. He makes a plant-based cheese that's just phenomenal on pizza as well. So you can check him out in New York. And then I was hanging out with Shane Martin one time, and he like got some big, huge, fluffy lion's mane mushrooms and like smushed them down on the grill, and he made like this like Philly cheesesteak kind of sandwich out of lion's mane mushrooms and some onions and stuff. And my gosh, that was gone in 2 seconds. It was so delicious. So I don't know if that recipe's on Shane and Simple's website, but check that out. But
if I want to shoot a couple thoughts first. It's funny. Men, they love their dogs. They love their dogs, right? So when I'm talking to some of my non-vegan buddies, and they're talking about their dog, I say, it's pretty funny. You love your dog, right? Oh yeah, he's the greatest dog in the whole world. I said, would you ever eat your dog? Like, really, would you eat him? He goes,
Yeah.
What's wrong with you, right? So I always say, well, it's funny. In the world's, animal lottery, dogs and cats won, everything else lost. So, like, it could have been where sheep and goats or something else were man's best friend, or a horse, right? It turned out to be the dog. So you're not going to eat your dog, but you have no problem eating some other animal. You're like, I just don't understand that logic of it. And I also think, too, when it comes to whole food plant-based, which is what I am, or veganism, the fact is it's accessibility. I mean, listen, I have to work to feed me, okay? That is part of my life. There's no turning back. I am whole food, plant-based, no oil. So I have to spend a half day every week on prepping for the week. And I make it simple on 2 out of 3 of the meals. But the other ones, I got to be a little creative. You're right. There's a million cookbooks. You can find stuff. But saying all that, I have to invest a little time in me to make my food, because if I slip up, I go looking. And when I go looking, I'm not eating the way I want to eat. And I'm committed to
right.
eating that way because I want to be a real man to my family.
Hey, something I thought about with this discussion is both Brian and Brian, you're bringing us some points about people just not, I don't know, being open. I think a real man is open-minded, right? I mean, a real man is ready to make changes when it becomes apparent that we know how to do something better. And so I think that just follows along with this entire lifestyle. And a real man wouldn't resist something like that because, kind of like Paul was saying, you want to look out for everybody. So if you're looking out for everybody and you know how to do something better, you need to go out there and just do it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I think, being open to change, like you've changed as you grew up, you changed careers potentially, you changed everything. So like, I think as we get older, we get a little bit more stubborn to a degree, but we have to be open to seeing the change in the world and adapting to it. So
Yeah, I changed my wife.
there you go.
There you go.
So our last podcast episode, there was a couple comments about the workplace. And so I'm going to not say her name correctly, so I apologize. But Shantianita said, she's really struggling with difficulties informing others about their change to a plant-based lifestyle, especially in the workplace environment. So talk to me about like what's a real man in the workplace and some of the stigmas we face on a daily basis. Like I'm pretty vocal, like you're inviting me to your conference. I'm vegan. You better have some plant rabbit food for me, kind of thing. And I play on the joke of the rabbit food, like. And I did go to a conference last week, and there was some amazing vegan options, which was the first time I've seen it like openly on display instead of just the one in the corner with my name written on it, like it's for Brian. But what is your thoughts in the workplace that you've seen?
I'll jump in there. I'm not a traditional 9 to 5 kind of guy because I'm a filmmaker. So it's pardon the not exactly a plant-based expression, but it's feast or famine. I'm either working or I'm not. But I teach and I do, as I said, I teach martial arts. That doesn't come up too much, except that at every film set there's a craft services table where you get to have all your foods. The one thing that I'll say is I have noticed over the last probably 10 years there has been a shift, and it's rare now that you don't go to a meeting, to an organization, to a festival, whatever it is, where there aren't options that are vegan. It still happens, but there is usually something there that they accommodate vegans with. And I can tell you for sure, 10 years ago, I couldn't walk into a grocery store and find the plant-based aisle.
Right.
And now, even the biggest chain here, you walk in and there is an aisle and it's plant-based. And I think people are becoming more aware, and I think they are starting to wake up to the possibilities and and also the risks that we're putting our planet at and ourselves at by eating, animals and animal byproducts. So I think there is kind of this seismic shift. I think it's right now, if it's 2% maybe, but I think we're 2% is significantly more than it was a few years ago. But there's still, there are times I'll go someplace and there are no options.
Right.
And then you have to be, Paul, like you were saying, you have to start getting creative with, okay, so, if I have what minimum, first of all, is there, if there's absolutely nothing that's plant-based and I'm starving, what can I do? Can I, how can I minimize the damage? Is there, maybe there's egg in the pasta. I don't know. Those kind of things you start weighing against what is it that's going to give the least impact to me and to my health and also to the environment and to animals. And so
Hey, a real man could skip a meal.
yeah, that's true. Good point.
Yeah.
And I've done that. I mean, it's funny because I'm in the healthcare space and I go to healthcare conferences where we're talking about healthcare type topics and there's no vegan food. And I go across the street to Chipotle to get my vegan Chipotle. Mike, I'm curious what your thoughts are.
All right. I've never had a real job, always worked for myself. Okay. So I look at it a little different perspective. I mean, I'd say that, I've always had, I guess, the courage, real men have courage to do my own thing and to do things that maybe are unpopular or that just aren't in line with all the sheep that everyone else. I think that that's what a real man, an attribute of a real man, is to just do the right thing regardless of what others are doing. And so in the workplace, I can only imagine. For me, I have total freedom because I've always done my own thing, which is awesome. I love that. But for others, I have worked a job. I remember for 2 months, I think I worked for somebody else. I didn't like it. I knew right away. But that requires a different type of courage. It's still a courage, but so much of that peer pressure. There's so much peer pressure. I can only imagine pulling you in one direction. You have to go in the other direction. So that it requires a lot of self-discipline. I think that's also something that real men possess, strong self-discipline.
Love it. I love it. And it's interesting because like I run the other podcast, Plant-Based on Fire, where I interview plant-based businesses and I'm doing some plant-based coaching and things like that now. And what I've found in most people that I've asked is that 80% of all the plant-based communities out there are women. So we're definitely in this minority of 20% or less are the plant-based men and all these communities, except for this podcast. This podcast has 80% men listening to it, which is great. So thank you guys. Appreciate you listening to this podcast. But it is an interesting thing. So I wanted to talk about like what is a real plant-based man definition for you guys?
Well, Paul and I were discussing this a little bit when we talked the other day. We met up in person, and I kind of mentioned, I think you agreed with me, Paul, is that unfortunately the stereotypical man doesn't take care of himself. Like you're saying, mostly women. I think it's because most women tend to take care of themselves better, their own health. And like we alluded to or said outright here in this podcast, you can't take care of others if you're not well yourself. So I think a real man is going to do the best he can to take care of himself.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned earlier, the idea that real men are open-minded, and I think that one of the things that a plant-based real man does is he shares that information.
Yeah,
and he tries to impart without preaching. So going back a little bit to the idea of the food in the workplace, if I have a business meeting and it's up to me to choose the place, I always say, hey, I have, this restaurant, always a vegan place. There's a wonderful, my favorite Thai restaurant in Los Angeles is a vegan Thai restaurant called,
I love it.
Named appropriately something vegan. And, that's, so it's not, it's, and I get people there and they have their meal and I say, this is pretty good, isn't it? This is like, and this is vegan. You're not, no animals died. You're not, you're not getting the hemes in your blood. You're not, you're getting rid of your inflammation. This is a good thing, right? And they're, so it doesn't necessarily change people's minds, but it opens them up to the possibilities. And I think that a lot of times that's one of the things you have to do is you have to kind of not necessarily shove people, you just kind of point them toward the light a little bit and say, look, here's another way you can go. You don't have to, and I have kind of a mixed feeling about Bestie's idea of only food that is made in a facility that has, no connection to anything plant-based, because when somebody like Kraft now makes plant-based cheeses, suddenly that makes that and Paul, you were mentioning this access. It gives that person who walks into a grocery store and looks up and says, oh, Kraft, the number one name in cheese, does a plant-based cheese. That must be okay. Let me try that. Mm-hmm. And suddenly you've got somebody else who's looking at the possibilities. So I think that a real man kind of opens up the world of possibilities to people for change for the better.
Yep. Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah, I would just add, my idea is that I don't make excuses. I don't look for some bailout from somebody. If I'm going into a situation that's new to me, be it a speaking event or, wherever it may be, whatever the venue is, I own it from its inception. Meaning if I agree to be at a certain place, I don't ask somebody to make sure I got food. I always have a care package in my car if I need it with, enough food that gets me through if I'm starving, which I never am. Or, I call the restaurant. I talk to the guy. I own that situation because I don't want to sit there being sad and mopey because everyone's eating, burgers or whatever, and I'm sitting there just drinking my water. And if I do drink my water, I don't give a shit. I'm saying? I'll get through it. I will live. Okay.
Yep.
So I try to own the situation, not take it over. I used to be out pushing people plant-based, but now I'm my own advertisement. At 66 years old, I bike ride every day, a lot, but lift weight. I live in my best life. And Mike, I totally agree. My goal, be healthy. My goal, be an example. I do those two things. Real man.
Yep.
Real man.
Absolutely. So let's take this one step further, because I am still struggling to find other real men who eat plants that want to come on this podcast and hang out with all of us. So let's put this as a call to action for all the real men out there. Come comment on this post, come chat with us, and come be on the show, and let's put the word out there. I really appreciate all three of you coming and telling some stories and anecdotes about your experiences and stuff. But what role do you believe men have as real men who eat plants in our plant-based movement? Like, we're still a minority overall, and I see that changing. But what role or examples do you see us needing to set?
Okay, I'll throw one out real quick too, and that this is going back to this idea of the few restaurants that I go to, and one is called Heart House, and Heart House is a fast food vegan burger place that was founded by Kevin Hart, the actor.
Yeah.
And somebody with that kind of visibility, when they say I'm starting a restaurant chain and it's all vegan, that's a great poster child for the vegan movement. When you see people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is very pro plant-based, Jackie Chan, these are people that have high visibility, and we need more people like that to kind of turn people around, because that's we are led by our nose, and we're led by society, and we're led by the people that we admire.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we see those people in a position saying, hey, I've looked at the science, or I've decided for me it's the best way to live, that there are people that will go, there must be something there. There must be something to it.
Yeah.
So I would love to see Kevin come on your show.
Absolutely. I mean, he can be our spokesperson.
Yeah. So anybody out there that knows Kevin, have him give Brian a call, would you?
That's right. I would love to partner with him, and I'd love to get out there and hang out with you and try one of those burgers out there. We're close to the Slutty Vegan in Atlanta, which is my favorite one. So, but yeah, there's some great choices out there. I guess what other real men, what is a real man topic should we unpack? If there's anything that's I've jogged in your head as we've been talking through it. Otherwise, I got one more big question for us.
What's your big question?
Yeah, let's go there.
The call to action, really. So, summarize it one more time from each of your perspectives for me here. What is a real man in your opinion, now that we've unpacked it a little bit? And what is the call to action for all the people that have made it this far in the podcast to do and take away as their next steps to help us in the movement or dig deeper into plant-based life, all that kind of stuff?
I'll start. For me, again, a real man is somebody who has ownership of their own physicality, is somebody that is proactive. I think Paul's a great example of someone, the idea that, if you're going to go someplace where they don't have your food, you bring it. I think that's a great tip. I think it's proactive. I think it's masculine. I think it's something that says, I'm in control of me. And I think that's a great thing. For me, I'm a teacher. So the idea of passing torches along to people, to passing knowledge along to people, goes across the board, and including the idea of, just opening people's eyes to the possibility. And the thing that I want to impart to the people that are right now not plant-based is there are options for you that are going to help you and the environment and the world. Why don't you take a look? Why don't you try it and see if there isn't something where you go, you know what? 2 days a week. Let me start with that. Let me start a little bit.
Hmm.
If we can just get people to start, you know, going, I don't have to have steak every Friday, or I don't have to have meat every day, or I don't have to have dairy every day, or, if we can start kind of just bringing down the margins a little bit, that hopefully that'll start to snowball. And there will be people that go, you know what? Cheese and thank you makes a fantastic mozzarella. I don't need another mozzarella. I can do that. I don't
Yep.
need to have, cow's milk, oat milk, almond milk, soy milk is fine, or whatever it is, that they start to go. There are other options out there that are as good that are better for me, better for the world, and give me just as much pleasure. And that's one of the things that have been missing, in my opinion, 15, 20 years ago in the vegan movement is, you wanted to go eat vegan, you really did feel like
Ate
kind
at
of
home.
hippie world.
Yeah.
You weren't. I don't know if I wouldn't go so far as to say you weren't a real man, but because the people that I knew that were vegans were very masculine. But the idea that I want to enjoy the food, I want to enjoy that process, I want to enjoy the taste, and there's that now. There's so many options, and whether even if you're making your own food now, I make my own pizza dough from scratch. It's a vegan pizza dough. It's fantastic.
I love it.
I love it. It's fantastic. So there are things that you can do that you couldn't do 10 years ago in terms of there weren't fast food vegan burger places 10 years ago.
That's right.
There just weren't. Now there are. Now there are vegan restaurants. There are vegan options. You can go to your grocery store and go to the plant-based aisle. And you couldn't do that 10 years ago. So there's options to people, and just trying to open their eyes to look at the upside, and there is no downside, with the possible exception of, oh, I'm used to, or I like that, or I miss that, but get over it. Get over
Yep.
it for your family. Get over it for the world, and get over it for yourself.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. Call to action, guys. What's your thoughts?
I say just keep learning. Real men keep learning, right? So I think that everyone you associate with, hopefully they are people that want to keep learning and doing new things. And even if they're not, if they see that you're doing something new, like I am always improving. I didn't just get into the plant-based movement and I'm set. I'm always learning, always something new, getting better.
I love it. Thank you, Mike. Paul, what's your thoughts?
I don't take shit. I'm responsible for my stuff. Okay, I think of my family first, and I work a lot. So my point here is, just like I said, be a beacon of an example to those that you care about, the ones that you don't know, and just keep moving forward, and don't relive the past. It's already gone. Learn from it.
I love it. I love it. Well, I really appreciate, again, you guys coming together and help me unpack this important topic. I think this is going to be a recurring episode that we do every once in a while, just to unpack some new angles based on some comments and stuff. So please comment on this video and let us know what else we should talk about in future episodes. But let's have each of you please go around the horn, give us a shout out. Where can we get in touch with you? How can we help promote you guys a little bit here? So Paul, why don't you hit us with your thoughts?
All right. So you could reach me, Paul, at the letters P as in Paul, B as in boy, N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, G as in girl.org. Paul at pbnsg.org. You will also soon be able to reach me with the Sage Circle Alliance. You're going to hear a lot about us very, very soon. Last little thought. Listen, if you're stuck in your meaty ways, that's cool. I don't care. Okay. But why don't, for a real man is willing to take a challenge. So here's my challenge. You go whole food, plant-based. Even if you need the oil, do it without oil if you're a real man. That's what I say. But if you can't, then try it for 60 days. You could do anything for 60 days, anything. Pretend your family is something could happen to them if you break that 60 day. But you go ahead, get a lipid panel at the beginning. Make sure you talk to your doctor. And even if your doctor says, well, I'm not sure about it. No, you tell your doctor, I'm going whole food, plant-based or vegan for 60 days. I want a lipid panel. You tell him what you want. He does a lipid panel. Then you go 60 days. No meat, no dairy, try no oil, real man. And then get your lipid panel done again. Here's what's going to happen. 60 days. You'll lose 15 pounds. All your numbers will drop by amounts that you cannot believe. Then you'll have experienced what the four of us experience, and now you'll become a real man.
I think that's a great commercial for the Real Men Eat Plants 30-day challenge. Go sign up on our website. You'll take our 30-day challenge. We'll guide you through the process there. But I appreciate that, Paul. And we do have the Real Men Eat Plants support group with PBNSG. So come check that out once a month as well. And you can hang out with all of us and ask us questions, and we'll help guide you on that journey too. But Mike, if your audio is working good, hit us with your contact and how we can get in touch with you.
Plant-based diet. And guess what? I have the manual. Guys love to read manuals, right? If there's one gender that reads manuals, it's guys.
Thank you, Mike. Bro, we're going to put you in an office. Sorry.
Thank you, Mike. I think we got it. We're going to check out the plant-based diet and get your book and check that out. And we appreciate you putting the manual together for the real men out there. Brian, tell us how we can help you and how we can get in touch.
You can find me on brianherskowitz.com, and there's contact on that website. I also would, if you're interested in animal welfare and interested in animal science at all, particularly how it impacts the world, check out Mad About Animal Mags on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel. That's my daughter's channel. And her latest one is Should We Kill John Wick's Dog? Which is a really interesting video where she analyzes from the ethical perspective and different ethical perspectives of whether or not it is the right thing to do to kill John Wick's dog, and why or why shouldn't we kill John Wick's dog. And it also relates back to everything from, industrial farming and, how torturous that is for animals. But with humor and charm, and it's really beautifully done. So if you get a chance, if you want a grin and you have, a soft spot for animals and for veganism, it's a great YouTube channel to check out. And the other thing, my other daughter has a comedy group called Nope, That's a Toe, which is also on YouTube. You should check out. And,
very cool.
But yeah, for me, if you're interested, I do have a novel out called Conceptus, where I do have a character who's vegan, not the main character, but her girlfriend, and it's a murder mystery. If you guys like murder mysteries, and please check that out. Conceptus, you can get it on Amazon. Other than that, I'm around. Check me out.
That is awesome. Thank you, Brian Herskowitz. Check out his website. Check out his daughter's couple of things. I think that's a great angle. John Wick's dog. John Wick is obviously a big buzzword. So hopefully that does well for her. But thank you guys all for joining us. We'll be back. We're trying to get out 2 or 3 episodes a month of the Real Men Eat Plants podcast. So if you're interested in joining us, if you've got a great topic idea, please reach out to us. We are here to help you on your plant-based journey, and we want to support you and help the community grow. So thanks again, everybody. Appreciate your time, and I hope you guys have a great day.
All right, you've reached the end of another enlightening episode of Real Men Eat Plants. We've revved up the man machine and explored the thrilling world of veggies. Remember, guys, flexing your manhood isn't about the size of the steak on your plate, but the strength of sprouts in your salad bowl. For those eager to continue their journey towards plant-powered masculinity, buckle up and head over to our website at realmeneatplants.com. There, you'll unlock access to exclusive content, mouth-watering recipes, and advice from the plant-based powerhouses themselves. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on social media for your daily dose of inspiration and connect with a community of men just like you who have joined the Plant Parade. Remember, it's not just about becoming stronger, healthier, and more vibrant. You're also becoming an eco-warrior, playing a vital role in the wellness of our planet. We appreciate your support and can't wait to catch up with you in the next episode. Until then, keep fueling your manhood with Mother Nature's Pantry. And remember, with a sprig of humor, Real Men Eat Plants will be rooting for you until we meet again.